Combined research of the Jesus was a mushroom theory, a list of known people, organisations and religions that have connections with magic mushrooms. John Allegro's work. Gordon Wasson's work. The Mycelium video by Paul Stamets. All the YouTube videos about mushrooms. The Greek Orthodox Church. Terence McKenna's work. The Bible. The Dead Sea Scrolls. The Mushroom Fertility Sex Cult. The Christian Religion. The Holy Sacrament. The Gnostics. The indigenous peoples of the world. The Jewish religion. The Muslim religion. The way of the warrior and the Yaqui way of knowledge. The Templar and the fraternity of doctors. Ancient languages including Greek, Hebrew, Latin and Aramaic. The Sumerians. The Pope, the Romans and the Roman Catholic Church. The Church of England. The Egyptians and the Pharaohs. The Holy Grail and the legend of Merlin and Arthur. Pagans, witches and herb lore. Allegorical myths and legends. Great leaps forward in mankind's evolutionary progress. Understanding how old mycelium is proves we came from mycelium, the oldest matter on Earth. It could have come from space as spores. The mycelium and fungus created the earth, the soil and all the plants, like a huge underground network, much like the internet. The mycelium network spreads like veins and arteries. Within its shape are corners of water pockets that are teeming with life, like bacteria and micro-universes evolving. The kingdom of mycelium is the closest kingdom to mankind, and that's why it makes a super antibacterial. It has also been used in an experiment to help clear up an oil spill. It actually turned the oil spill into a living forest. See Paul Stamets' video on TED on YouTube. The indigenous peoples of America were very wise to the sacredness of the mushroom, much like the Sumerian peoples who first used the stories of Joshua, the righteous teacher, also the mushroom, and the Greek translation of Jesus, giving it secret sacred spirit names that later got copied by the Romans and Greeks to create Christianity. Allegro actually worked on deciphering the Dead Sea Scrolls, and that's when he discovered how sacred the mushroom was to this highly evolved race of people, the Sumerians. When Allegro cracked the mushroom code, he realised there was more mushroom references and just how important the mushroom is. They had so much knowledge on complex understandings of things that don't seem possible for them to know about in that day and age, which was at least 5,000 years or more before the so-called birth of Christ. They seem to have an understanding of the inside workings of the human body as good as the understanding they had of the mind and human emotions, DNA, and even astronomy and surgery. I have read that they would see life on the outside and liken it to different parts of the human body. For example, birds were seen as flying ovaries, of course. The mushroom was seen as the penis. God was also seen as a penis. This is quite normal for a fertility cult. Sex was seen as connecting the shaft of the mushroom, stroke the penis, stroke the penis, to the cap of the mushroom, seen as deep within the woman's vagina. Nature was explored, inner space and outer space. Nature was partaken, and mankind advanced. The mushroom enabled people, like a tool, to explore inner space. It was a good tool, teaching us about the workings of the mind, showing us how to be at the centre of our universe and why it is important to be at the centre. Sex is a good way to worship God, especially if God is a penis. It surely makes common sense to have at least one orgasm a day. And there is a very serious point to this daily sexual worship, because both parties are reaching a spiritual climax. This acts like glue, binding a relationship together. And with the theory of like attracts like, it spreads the love in a content umbrella of protection. We need to overcome ourselves. It sounds easy to follow your heart, but we are ruled by overtaking emotions that the indigenous peoples of the world knew a lot about, because they had studied ways like the way of the warrior that involved partaking and understanding all about the narwhal, which was everything unknown, and the tonal, which was everything known. They could see it was all about seeing. The mushrooms and other plants could help them to see. It was all about seeing. The key was to rearrange your personal island when you were overtaken by your own tonal. You can only really do that by partaking. You can't learn about it. You have to partake, as it is a personal trip about personal power. So the way of the warrior is what I have just tried to describe, the yucky way of knowledge. And it is so very similar to the origins of Christianity, the Sumerians, who were also so wise. The Yakis believed that if someone was trying to wind you up, then they are more than likely to be overtaken by their own tonal, and if you were to bite and you would just show them how their tonal had overtaken your tonal, just as in the Bible where Jesus, the mushroom, says, turn the other cheek because you don't want to be controlled by your emotions, or you would be at the mercy of others. Most people, point blank, refuse to understand how a magic mushroom could be seen as sacred. Maybe because they have never partaken, or because they have seen their friends have a bad trip, and that could have frightened them off. However, I do believe that the mushroom will change your perspective enough to improve your outlook on the rest of your life. And the fear you may go through is because your ego is dying. And we may often need to go through it and beyond to progress our perception. This could be why the message from Jesus, the mushroom, is only through me shall you reach the kingdom of heaven. Jesus was a mushroom is a fact. 1. If you don't partake of the flesh of Jesus, the mushroom, then you can't enter the kingdom. Not because you're a bad or because God don't like you anymore, but because the only way to trip in that kingdom is to partake of the flesh of the mushroom, for real. Eat it, drink it. When you have partaken, then you can understand that the kingdom of the mushroom is talking to you. It is guiding you, and it is connecting you to the Creator, you. Out the window goes the selfish ego, and in comes the new in-touch being who now knows we are all one. It seems so simple, like a doctor's prescription. The whole world could wake up if they could just trust in Jesus the mushroom. All you have to do is partake. And this is drummed into you by Christianity. Yet they didn't like Allegro's findings because it highlights the truth of what Jesus really was. The truth that everybody can take if they trust in Jesus the mushroom. I still shake my head and laugh that we actually thought that Jesus was a man. This would explain why the male ego has just got so ego-driven and out of control, just like an overtaken tonal. But it's to be expected because the ego suppressant, the mushroom, became a dirty secret, hidden, and until it was no more than a joke. The Holy Grail, just a joke, eternal life, a belief of the Yaki, you don't have to die, your soul, spirit, can cross the bridge if you know all about it. Just a joke or real? ESP, mushrooms, visions, omens of the future. In the Bible, when it says the heavens opened, they really are saying it was heavy rain. The mushroom would spring up after the heavens opened, and God, the mushroom, would appear, and they would hallucinate on the mushrooms in the shape of a penis. In the film The Kingdom of Heaven, the Order of the Knights Templar were portrayed as crazy berserker knights that knew something the other orders of knights didn't. When one of them was jailed for killing killing against the will of the king, his friend gave him something to eat in jail. And it was small. If you watch the film, you see he passes him something. So it's a small piece of like bread or mushrooms, possibly. Because what happens is he passes him that. His friend gives him something to eat in jail. And the next time we see him in the film, he appears to be off his head, tripping. So this film, The Kingdom of Heaven, they must know about the mushroom theory, and that the Templars, the Knights Templars, had the information about the mushrooms, and that's why they acted the way they did and were so cocky in a sense. In Allegro's findings, he says that all the apostles were sacred mushroom names, including Moses, which means the mushroom led them, the slaves, out of slavery, and the pharaohs would have wanted to keep the mushroom for themselves, not the slaves, possibly. As Allegro was the only non-religious scholar on the team of 9 in 1947, the church also appeared afraid of his findings getting to the public. They publicly ridiculed him, claiming his work was no more than a shocking way to make money. This didn't stop him, but it did appear to make him try to explain what he had found in a less shocking, more intellectual way. Maybe to try and prove to the world this was no joke. What is a jihad? We know it is a holy war, but if Jesus was a mushroom, then maybe it's a drug war. Mushrooms are great healers, and as well as curing many different illnesses and diseases, mushrooms can also help cure other life-threatening drug dependencies. The Way of the Warrior teaches of the perils of some plant spirits that will use the host being to such a great extent that the host spirit is overtaken by the evil plant spirit. Doctors and drug companies have been using all sorts of bad spirit drugs on the people for years. Maybe they once knew that the mushroom could do a one-stop better job, but then they could be out of business because everyone could be at the centre of their own universe, able to cure themselves, not even getting ill. And if they lived with the mushroom, they could even live to an even older age, because we all know that the indigenous peoples of America that took mushrooms on a regular basis did live to a much older age. Why don't the Jews accept Jesus? I do believe it's because they know it's a rerun of a Jewish story about Joshua, the righteous teacher. They know Joshua was a mushroom, but not these days, it seems. It don't make any sense for Jesus the man to have really existed as a man. And the people they call him king of, the Jews, say they've never heard of him. And with the superpowers he was supposed to have had, well, it seems like we fell for it more than them so-called savages did when they thought the Western men were gods. At least they knew the mushroom was sacred. Is that why the West and the Church polluted the people with alcohol and banned the mushroom, creating an unreal media drama world where money, doctors and politicians are the new gods? We the people are kept in an ignorant slave to the money-like state, unaware of what spiritual babies we actually are. Only the mushroom can really save us, but we are in no state to know that.